It is my absolute pleasure to be joined today by author Julie Fletcher. She is the author of the newly released book, Freedom for the Broken. And so, Julie, tell us about this book.
This book is about growing up in the South. Um, my father left when I was 4, and I don't know if understand the position they hold in a child's life, being there and giving love, and and then looking in my teenage years for the love of a man, and not knowing how to deal with it. Um, uh, I got pregnant when I was 17, and um, the choice was made that I needed to have an abortion. And I think to people in my family, the problem was taken care of, but there was repercussions in me and the guilt that came with that. And you can't get away from it. And you have to, it seemed like I was supposed to act like we've been to Walmart and just pack all that up and move on with life. And I was I was a mess. And I went to college and, drank my way through my first year and just looking for something to numb that pain because it was difficult being in the skin that I was in. Um, I got pregnant with my son. He's 31 now, and he is biracial. His father's black. I'm white. Yeah, but it was my father disowned me, and I just felt so unworthy. And and I started taking pain pills to numb that pain. And I went through nursing school, finished that, and then got caught diverting drugs and went to rehab 6 times. And, they told me I was going to be an addict for the rest of my life. I mean, there was no hope in that. And, no hope makes suicide look like freedom. And I went, I was working at a job and it was, have you ever worked at a job where it's a safe place and then it turns hostile? And I went out in my backyard and I told God that I needed Him to either come get me or come help me because I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to do this anymore. Life. And because I was messing it up. All my relationships. And I stood out in my backyard in July in the summer in Louisiana. And I told him I wasn't leaving until he came. I would stand out there and die of a heat stroke. And in about 45 minutes, I felt something just wash over me. Started from top of my head, went all the way down to the soles of my feet and my shoes, and I've never been the same since that. And I want people to know I didn't find, I knew God was real, but I didn't know Him like I know Him now. And I didn't find Him in a church house. I found Him when I cried out to Him when I came to the end of my best thinking. And I cried out to Him and He came. I think that was what He was waiting on, was for me to just say, I can't do it anymore. And and He just totally changed me from the inside out. His word says He'll make all things new. And He has inside me things people can't even see. And um and so I tutor nursing students. And if you're in an abusive relationship, I've been there. I can almost smell it on you.
So, I think this book sounds incredible. And, you talk about your teenage years, and that age time. And, that to me, teenage years and college years, I actually just had this conversation with someone the other day. I wasn't mature enough make
No.
any decisions, but also, you're not mature enough to be held accountable for those decisions either, right? So it's like I feel like that society sometimes hasn't taught that grace, that forgive yourself for those things that happened, when you were that age, when you weren't even developed yet as an adult
Right.
decisions. And I think,
And it
oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. It's
Oh,
such a taboo topic.
it is
I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
nobody wants to talk about it. And
Nobody does, and
I
it
needed
makes people
somebody.
to numb the pain. And
Yeah.
what's crazy is that God's grace and forgiveness is so deep, and so it covers everything. And
Yeah.
I wish people were more aware that that's the way it is, right? That's And so I think it's wonderful you've written this book to cover all those things and bring things to light that I feel like the world needs to hear. And
Absolutely.
so what actually inspired you to write this into a book form?
I documented my life in notebooks. I had 24 notebooks that I had documented when I first went to rehab. They told us to journal. And so I found that when I journaled, it would get it out of my head and on paper, and I could kind of move on. And the first one started in 1999. And I have carried those books around because I knew God wanted me to do something with it. And uh, I had tutored at a community college for about 12 years and unexpectedly lost my job. And it was devastating. But looking back now, I see that God was taking me out of a terribly toxic environment. And I was asking him, what am I supposed to do? And he said, kingdom business is your priority. And I knew what he meant. And I was scared to go through those notebooks because, I emotionally vomited on the page. I mean, when I journal, I have to own my part, be honest, and just tell how I truly feel about it. And so going back through that, I was scared that I was going to, bring up pain that I'd get stuck in. But it was the most amazing thing because it was like the Holy Spirit was on my shoulder as I read through those, saying, look at those words they said. Look at y'all's relationship. They don't even feel that way about you anymore. Look how far you've come. And it's only because the grace and mercy of God that I am a productive member of society, you know? And so I started going through the books and writing it, and I was on the last chapter, and one of the people from Christian Faith Publishing called my phone, and they said they talked to me about a year and a half before about publishing. I do an NCLEX boot camp for nursing students to prepare them for NCLEX, and apparently I had called them to see about publishing that, and when she said, I had you down for this day, I said, you are not going to believe what has happened. And I told her everything, and she told me to send my transcript in because it had to be reviewed, and they chose it. And I didn't, I've never published a book before, and I've learned a lot. But I know that there are people out there that felt like me, who felt like all the good God could have had planned was just shot by their poor decisions.
I think this all sounds incredible. I love everything that you're saying. And I just want to know, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today about you, your book, or the message within your book?
I just want people, we have an addiction problem on the planet. And I know that there are people out there just like me who are trying to numb pain that they don't have the tools to deal with. And I want them to know that this is not about religion. This is about an intimate relationship with Jesus. And he showed me that he wants to be my father. and that he will provide for me. I uh I asked him to show me how he talks to me, and then I looked for him, understanding there's no such thing as coincidence. You know, when something happens, it's destined by God. I walked in my I was in a terrible at a terrible job, and I was praying that God would do something, either change them or get me out of there. And I walked into my house, and Joyce Myers was on the TV. And as soon as I walked in, she said, God said we had to be long suffering. And I was, like, oh, Father, shut her up. Not really. And then sometimes I go to my Bible and I just let it open because I know He's in absolute control and He can put it on the page I want. And it opened to James 1, and where it says, count it all joy when you come upon trials of many kinds. And so I had to trust that He knew better than I did, and that the good work that He started in me, He would finish. There were times when I would, good things happened that I wrote in those notebooks too. And I'd go back and remind myself of what He did, what He had done in me. And I just want people out there to know that there's somebody who's willing to listen to you. I, um, I would love to talk to you. There were, it's just such a taboo topic, and it's a desperate place to be when you have done these things. Abortion made me a murderer. That's a fact. But I needed to know that God could still use me, what was left of me. And He can, and I want people out there to know that. And in the book, I wish somebody would have told me steps 1 through 5 of how to get over it, but I didn't even know how to start. And there were things I learned through this that I put in the book. Like if, something came to my mind that about my drug use, I would say out loud, thank you, Lord, that I don't have to do that anymore. And I took that captive because I don't have to do that anymore. And it's strictly because of Jesus and His blood that He shed for me. And I want everyone to know that freedom that can only come through an intimate relationship with Him. Not, this isn't about religion. And it's more than going to heaven. It's knowing I have an advocate in heaven who is on my side and who will come down here and help me deal with whatever I'm going through. And that He has a plan for me to prosper me and not harm me, and to give me a future and a hope. Because I'm telling you, no hope makes suicide look like freedom. And if people have children who are drug addicts, keep praying. Don't give up. I'm my mama's miracle, and I believe that those prayers covered me when I was out there being not the brightest person on the planet. But if I would love to talk to anybody who just needs to talk about it. I mean, sometimes people just need you to hear them.
Yeah.
And if people have never been there, they can't
They can't.
help really.
Well, I think it's incredible that you have, this is obviously a ministry for you. And so we want to let everybody know where they
Yeah,
can pick up this book. This book, Freedom for the Broken by Julie Fletcher. It's available online everywhere books are sold. It's available
yeah.
on Amazon, Apple Books, Reader House, online at Barnes and Noble. It's readily available for anyone who wants to pick this book up today. Julie, thank you so much for your heart and for
Thank
sharing
you.
your ministry with me today. And thank you so much for just talking to me today.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.